Hello! Welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and initialize the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.xyz.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm fun. I'm Ken Plume from KenPlume.com.
Thanks, Ken, for coming back to finish out the week with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight.
It is as we've said recently, this is not, even if you don't like the movie that much, there's at least something going on in just about every minute.
I like you too.
Oh, well,
that's
nice.
all that mattered.
Thank you.
That was the big draw, always, for doing anything with you two, is I like you two.
We're going to push those boundaries.
I also like you and
people...
Alex as well, Pete.
Oh, okay. Well, at least we didn't sneak an album onto your iPod.
I haven't checked. I should.
Yeah.
Did you?
Right.
I'm now subscribed to Star Wars Minute. Why did you do that?
All right. This whole thing was a big ruse to get to there. So thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. No, let's talk first about minute 50. Minute 50 of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Minute 50 starts with Rey asking Zori Bliss, is this going to work? And it ends with C3PO saying, well, if this mission fails, it was all for nothing. So those really could just go right back to back. Like, is this going to work? Well, if it fails, this is all for nothing. So the rest of the minute is unimportant. You can just
this was a roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah. I don't like roller coasters. I do like, so they start out, hey, is this going to work? And they're like, then Babu Frik discovers, is like, okay, I found the thing. Apparently, like, I like the fact they didn't, maybe they don't trust him. Maybe it's not, like you don't, if you're trying to figure out if somebody's good at, let's say, fixing things, you kind of know what the problem is. You might not want to tell them and have them discover it. Be like, well, if they can diagnose what the problem is, then, obviously they're pretty good, probably. Or they're not going to upsell you on like, oh yeah, your coolant needs replacing. You need the engine wash or whatever. But so I guess they didn't say, hey, we specifically need to get this thing that's in there for him. They were just like, hey, we need to access the...
But Poe knows Babu Frik. Poe's worked.
Poe
He's part of the crew.
Babu Frik. Well, Poe's not part of the crew anymore.
Well, not anymore.
He doesn't know if they are trusting him again yet or whatever. So he's just like, all right, he's probably good. Let's see if he can do it. Let's see if he can find out.
I know he's good. That's why we traipsed across the galaxy specific to Babu Frik.
But then he's like, all right, yeah, so Babu Frik says he found a message in Sith encoded in the secret memory in your droid, and he's like, yeah, that's it. That's what we need. Which then triggers what I think is a funny kind of like a bickering little thing between Zori Bliss and Poe, where she's like, what? Like, who were you hanging out with that speaks Sith? Which is ridiculous.
I mean,
and funny. I like the idea of somebody hanging out.
She's a bit judgy.
Sith. Yeah.
Everyone's judgy.
But I mean, they're quote unquote good guys. Sith is like a different kind of, they're just
a whole level of. These
guys are like, the Dukes of Hazzard. They're just, breaking the law to just do their thing. They're what is it? Making their way the only way they know how. It's just a little bit more than the law would allow. So,
are they straightening their curves too? What's going on?
They're not flat out evil. They're just doing things that are a little bit outside the law. But then, so this is like, oh, well, hey, who are you hanging out with that speaks Sith? Like, what are you into now?
Also, what's Sith?
Well,
I mean, the Sith still aren't common knowledge in the galaxy, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know obviously our heroes are involved with the Jedi and stuff, so they all know about the Sith. But do regular people, after the Empire fell, did they reveal that he was?
Even during the Empire, there wasn't a common knowledge.
Right.
Like every day, it wasn't discussed as far as the Sith. Although, I guess to be fair, the Sith had like 1,000-year reign at some point in this. I don't know how history is taught in the galaxy. I don't know how bad it is. I don't know how corrupted the education system has gotten in the Republic and then the Empire by that point.
I guess if
Let's
she
see.
was friends with Poe and he grew up with rebel parents, I guess they would know about the Sith.
Well, and I think people, once
The galaxy just knew the Emperor as a bad emperor who ruled an awful empire.
but then I
Not
think
as an
word
evil
would have
space
gotten
wizard.
out afterwards, right? In the ensuing 30 years, they're like, well, guess what? This whole thing, like basically the backstory of what was going on would have made its way out.
Did you watch that TikTok about how Palpatine was a Sith and what the Sith are?
Right, yeah.
It's like if you found out, like, oh yeah, and Joseph Stalin, he was also an evil space wizard too, besides just
Right, yeah.
being a dictator. Shot lightning out of his hands.
Watch my next video in my series on these evil space wizards.
But you got to wait for part 2 for the whole thing. Like,
Yeah, and it's not sequential because they had to re-upload because there was some community flag on it by a Sith.
Hate speech.
So yeah, it's a weird beat. It escalates the scene escalates in a weird way as far as the MacGuffin of what they have to do. I mean, this all felt like it was building to something we don't get to here, and I look forward to hearing the discussion that you have in the future, which is C3PO's full discussion about the sacrifice. Like this felt like it was building up towards Anthony Daniels' big showcase moment. Like we're gonna build a scene for 3PO, so we have to make him integral in this weird, convoluted. This is like a hat on the hat of that dagger that we're gonna find out.
C3PO's hat. This is Cub's hat.
Yeah, this entire movie feels like a hat on 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 a hat.
Maybe that's why I like it so much.
Because you love hats. You
love hats.
There's one thing people know about Pete. Pete loves hats.
Well, this got me thinking. I was probably going to save this for next week. We can start talking about it now. We'll bring it up again next week. I don't even know who's going to be here next week. Probably Alex, but we'll see. If I were, wrapping up a saga essentially, but knew that there's a franchise and there's probably going to be more movies down the road, and I've got the star of, one of the stars of the movie who's associated with this role. He's, doing his thing. And I write into the script, okay, here's a part where he basically gets rebooted. This is your chance for the whole end of the movie, have somebody else playing C3PO, hand it off to a new C3PO. Let this be Golden Tony's little swan song, and he gets to be like, I'm just looking at my friends, and it's, great to see you all. And then he shuts down. When he boots back up, he's some other guy. Because the voice package, whatever, everything is, he's rebooted. They can't get him back to the
We know
back
it
the
was the
same.
Alan Tudyk, though.
And then, sure.
I think that's what Matt Smith was originally hired. He was going to be the second.
He's going to be
that was the big secret.
That would be amazing. But there's an opportunity that, all right, if you want this character, you can have this character keep going and being in stuff, and you can hand him off to a new actor just by working in a diegetic reboot of his character. And yet, I don't know.
Nope, none of that was not.
Seems like an idea that they should have thought about, but.
Well, one thing and this is in the specific minute, so I can point this out as something that bugs me. I'm on record already as not liking the fact that they kill C3PO and then bring him back at the end of the movie like nothing happened. And it annoys me that Finn goes out of the movie goes out of his way to say, well, wait, doesn't R2 have a backup of you? Already telling you how he's going to be coming back, but then C3PO's like, no, it's, he's unreliable, and there's a little wiggle room
being
there.
dramatic is not new.
But it just feels like they didn't even have to call attention to the fact that there was a backup in R2, and had that just be like, oh my God, there was a backup the whole time. Like it would have been like I don't know. It annoys me that it
was a clunky way to lay the groundwork for that.
Yeah.
But it does. It's one of those moments, and it felt that way in the theater, that it immediately undercut the drama of what we've yet to see as far as his big sacrifice scene. Of him like saying his goodbyes to everyone, and goodbye friends, and I will not remember you, and all that just automatically before you even get to it is undercut by, oh, there's a backup, right? I guess there's a backup, but you never know backups and such. You know how backups go sometimes.
I mean, it was never meant to be that dramatic, and I don't think it's also it's not, it's him being over dramatic about it, but it's not meant to be like it's, for the most part, they just like reboot him and then he reads off the Sith thing and then it's all jokes from there on in.
There's a whole scene where he was like, I want to say goodbye to my friends, and the music swells and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't
a whole
play
scene
as
of
comedy,
of like a minute, not even, you know what I mean? Like,
but nothing about that's it feels like it doesn't decide where it wants to plant that footing. Like, does it want to undercut it as a comedy beat to show C3PO being overdramatic in this moment? It's like the editing and the music choices don't support. Like, you would think the music then should be over the top in its selling of, him being overly dramatic in this. Like, it confuses the audience as to how you're supposed to be feeling about this moment rather than picking which side it wants to be on. It just felt disquieting in the theater. Like, I'm actively having to go, what are you trying to sell? How are you trying to sell this moment to me? Is where, for me in the theater, the confusion was. I'm fine with it being comedic. I'm fine with it being undercut and it being just another C-3PO being overdramatic.
Yeah.
But you had all of the characters were also reacting emotionally in that moment to C-3PO's farewell as a goodbye moment to C-3PO. Like, the other characters treated it seriously until then afterwards it was all jokes with now absent mind, no memory, rebooted C-3PO. But in the moment, even the characters around him, like if it was the previous films with C-3PO moment like that, trying to be serious or overdramatic, it would be in that moment undercut by Han or Leia or whoever in that moment would telegraph this is the tone of the scene.
He would have been in the middle of saying goodbye and they would have just turned him off. Oh, my friend's not, like, I feel like,
Right. Which would have been good. But like the fact that it's not, I find it refreshing in all these cases that it's not exactly what has happened before in all the other movies ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going exactly by the beats of what we expect from a Hollywood movie like this. So they're not setting it up like that. And it's not to be, it's not like it's an amazing artistic achievement that they're doing something experimental but there's just like, all right, well, at least it's not. I always find it really refreshing that it's not just like set up payoff in the way that we've, like I like not knowing exactly what is going to be said next or what's going to happen next. The way that I complain about that sometimes with like the Disney shows, that it's just like, yes, they're going to do this and this, and like the people are just saying what is supposed to be said in that part and not what somebody thought they, might say. This, it seems like at least like they're getting towards a point and they had these ideas of stuff and they're kind of going through that way and not setting it up in a way like playing off cliche, but not totally subverting it, but not going exactly the way that we expected to intentionally, because that, like, I at least find that refreshing. That's part of why, like, it ties into the same thing with like, somehow the Emperor returned. Great. Don't need to know. Don't let's not have this whole thing be a 2-hour quest for, the Emperor. He's back. Great. Same thing. It's just like, oh, well, and each of these, C-3PO, we take some more time than, the Chewbacca thing was literally, what did we say? 2 minutes and 3 seconds or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh no, Chewbacca's dead. No, he's not really. And this is like, oh, C-3PO's completely erased. And it was like, well, let's spend some time playing with that and having jokes about it. And then like, we already said, like, you got to back up. And he's, he doesn't say no. He says like, yeah, R2-D2 is unreliable, but he's always, harping on R2-D2.
But it says in the moment, I think, is the thing that undercuts it for me. Like, you could have given 3PO his scene and everyone believing it. And I would have, even as a comedy beat immediately after that, going, like Finn then going, wait, doesn't R2 have a backup?
Right.
But it feels like it wants to have its cake and eat it too, and also they didn't tell you it was cake.
Right. Cake is a lie. I heard that.
it just plays as a dramatic beat, regardless of the franchise. It feels weirdly structured as a way.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I find that refreshing that it's weirdly structured. I'm like, oh, good. I don't. If it's just going by the beats of all what Hollywood movies are, know.
But in my brain, I'm
like.
processing Pete likes clumsiness. Like he appreciates that it's clumsy.
I do.
Well, it's funny because there is basically a similar type of gag already was done in Star Wars at the end of Revenge of the Sith when he's like, "Oh, and have this droid's memory erased," and C3PO's like, "What?" That's kind of played more as a joke thing. Like, "Oh, no one has any respect for C3PO. Erase his brain. I don't care." And then 3PO is upset by that. So it's a similar type of thing, except there it's played for laughs, and here it's played more for pathos than.
Well, I mean, it is just for a second, though. It's just like this dramatic goodbye moment, but in the midst of comedy beats left and right. You know what I mean? Like Babu Frik is nonstop comedy. Babu Frik's nonstop comedy, available now on DVD.
Well, that's the opening for the set at Coachella.
Right, yeah. But the bands can never go on because he's nonstop. He just never stops. And they're just like, wait a minute.
Again, poorly thought out.
Tapping their watch. They putting the light on in the back, and he was just like, no.
Well, speaking of Babu Frik, I have some factoids about Babu Frik if you'd like to hear those.
Frictoids.
Our man is 85 years old, so he's been around.
So he'll know the ones that we saw in The Mandalorian then.
Yeah. That's a bit racist, but yeah, he could possibly know them.
He could.
So he's 9 inches tall.
Why, Alex? Why did you have to make it weird?
Well, you just assume that they all know each other.
I'm just saying that he could have known them, is what I said.
Yeah. There you go.
He's 9 inches tall. That's 0.2 meters for you. I guess that's 22 centimeters.
No, 0.2 meters is 20 centimeters.
Well, he's 0.22. Right? He's 0.22 meters. So centimeters. As you pointed out, Pete, he does not wear a shirt. Kind of easy to forget. He has that kind of Rancor keeper headgear kind of thing, like a hood kind of, but a
cowl.
There you go. He was voiced and performed by Shirley Henderson, probably most famous now as Moaning Myrtle. Is that her name?
Sure. Yeah. From
the Harry Potter films.
Also in Topsy Turvy with Andy Serkis.
Right. Oh, yeah. There you go. She has a very distinctive voice. So if once you see her, you're like, okay. Whenever she stands out every time. Any other movies. This is something I thought was kind of fun. Is that originally Babu Frik was going to die when the planet gets blown up. Spoiler alert in the next few minutes. But apparently,
thankfully, R2 had a backup.
Yeah.
He can thank Steven Spielberg for this because when J.J. Abrams had a screening for Steven Spielberg and Steven Spielberg was like, what happened to Babu Frik? And then they're like, oh my gosh, we got to put him in. And then, so that's why he shows up, spoiler alert, at the end of the film. So
Zori let the rest of the crew die.
Well, they're all...
but because Babu could fit in the
what were their
ship
names?
with her.
Jothver, Vibo, and Vici. They're all poor Manat. Very, very, very Vibo Vici.
I thought you were telling me the name of the other Anzellans we saw in...
oh, no, I don't know what they're...
Now their names are forever immortalized on the crew jacket that Zori Bliss wears.
I didn't notice, but the ones we see in The Mandalorian, I feel like they're all dressed exactly the same as Babu Frik. Are they wearing
I think they had different... if I remember correctly, it was the hair, the facial hair styles. Like, I think one had like a very long handlebar-like mustache... And then there was like a bigger goatee kind of thing. It was the facial hair that seemed like it was where the variants came in.
Different kind of gear, like tool belt setup.
But do any of them wear shirts? Is that like just is that a thing that they don't do? Is that the thing that ties together?
Can we get a Babu Frik in like one of the classic T-shirts, what
T-shirt do you
Rolling
think Babu
Stones
Frik
Lip
should
T-shirt
wear?
or like a Who Farted T-shirt or like one of the Hall of Fame T-shirts?
I'm with stupid.
Is there a T-shirt Hall of Fame? Why not?
Should be. Yeah.
For the irony, why don't we put him in an Iggy Pop T-shirt?
Iggy
Property
Pop,
of Coruscant High School Gym Department or something.
There you
like
go.
That, something like that.
Frick you.
Or that's the we should have. Who is Mick Jagger or whatever? But we should have his Babu Frik.
Frick Jagger.
Yeah.
We need a merch item for this week, so we got to come up with something.
I was astounded. Maybe is that the right word? Yeah. See, the original shirt is who the F word is Mick Jagger.
I've never heard of that.
A couple of people. There's a famous shot of him wearing the shirt.
Well, then it's Who the Frick, right?
But
It's a
who the
shirt.
frick is Babu Frik? But I don't know. We got to think on that because it's a famous shirt.
Oh,
Um,
Frick Jagger.
but
who the F is Frick Jagger?
all right. So we'll get there.
We'll
think on it. Yeah.
We'll workshop.
I guess there's a lot of F word Babu Frik crossover that we could think of.
I'm still down for a Frick You shirt.
But I was a little bit shocked because Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter movies is supposed to be a teenage girl who died, as a student. So, 17, 18 at the oldest, maybe, right? And then she plays the kind of the ghost of that girl. And then I forgot if it was maybe when we saw that, it's the same person who plays Babu Frik, and I looked her up, and
she was in her late 30s or early 40s at the time she played Moaning Myrtle, right?
Yeah. She's almost 60 at this point. So,
wow.
No.
Acting.
Well, she would have played Moaning Myrtle
at this point. So this was like 20 years ago. So
2002? Because that was Chamber
almost
of Secrets when she first appeared. That's 20 years ago.
Right. So she was like high 30s, 40s maybe when she was playing a teenage girl, which seemed I was like, that's weird. Because it's already weird that she's floating around kind of spying on Harry in the bathroom, but then also now it's like, here's a 40-year-old woman spying on, but
and talks in all the bathrooms at the Universal parks. So
yeah, there you go. Also she was in Trainspotting with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Star Wars connections.
Yeah.
She's all over Star Wars.
She's everywhere you want to be. But also the thing about Steven Spielberg, that's almost the same thing that happened with Poe, where Poe is supposed to die in that first scene, and then they're like, you know what, we like him, let's bring that guy back. And
everybody liked him, I think.
Everyone loves Poe.
Yeah.
They needed Mo Dameron.
His identical twin.
Right.
Oh, you met my brother Poe.
Should we make a Just Say Poe shirt? I think Just Say Mo would be in the T-shirt Hall of Fame, right? It certainly had its moment in the, like class of 1989 or whatever it was, 19, like Just Say Mo was like a unique cultural, that was like everybody for some, Just Say Mo.
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't know what you're talking about.
Whereas it was Mo from the Three Stooges, Mo Howard.
Okay.
And it said "Just Say Mo" because it was a takeoff on like the
Just Say No drugs
kind
campaign.
of drug thing from Nancy Reagan, and then like post that, then it combined with, I think there something happened that there was a licensing boom for like the Three Stooges and Looney Tunes, and I don't know.
You remember the Golden Age of novelty T-shirts, right?
Sure, yeah.
Alex,
Spencer's era, it was
called.
Yeah.
The rise of Spencer's.
I definitely remember the novelty
Topic.
T-shirt era, but maybe it was a more localized thing because I don't remember ever seeing that Just Say Mo shirt. But
I mean, we grew up like
right, but
very close to each other.
But not close enough.
Not close enough,
apparently.
Anyway, novelty T-shirt. There should be a T-shirt Hall of Fame. Just Say Mo should be in there, but we got to see if it Just Say Poe and also something with Babu Frik. Those are the ones that we're going to work on for this week.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. That was all I had pretty much. Oh no, I did one the way that she kind of, win friends and influence people, kind of like what's that like neurolinguistic programming that Ray does here for C3PO. She was like, he's like, well, that, having cold feet a little bit, cold metal feet. And she was like, hey, the odds better than any of us. Is there, like, if we don't do this, is there a chance? And like that, by being like, well, you're the best at this kind of a thing, right? So you to make this decision.
So you're determining
putting it back in
for yourself, this is the best way forward. You're making
We're going to do this anyway, but why don't you think about the odds for a second? And it would be a lot better if you just said, yes, you want to do this.
Also, time is of the essence, and you're really annoying us right now.
Yeah.
The long goodbye.
Wrap up this monologue here.
And scene.
Right.
I feel like we rarely see 3PO not only concerned about himself. Usually, most of the time, he's only... So this is a rare time for 3PO to kind of like step up and do some self-sacrifice. I mean, the only time I can think of is when he offered to give R2 some of his circuits or gears.
I've never thought that he was unconcerned about others. I think he was very nervous that he was being put in a position with them that they're ignoring is dangerous, and he's trying to tell them this is dangerous. I don't think it's just self-preservation. I think he's just, I want to preserve all of you, and why are we doing this? Why this is wrong? Why that seems like his personality. Not that he's selfish or looking out for himself in any way in all these situations. I think he's just, again, he knows the odds. He's the best with the odds. He knows this is not a odds-wise a smart thing you should be doing as a group in this moment. He's forever advising not to do the things for preservation of the entire group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right.
It works. And I like how, Ray is basically paying him the compliment to get him to kind of go along with it, essentially, and it works. Works for him, it works for me.
Do you think they're all fine in that moment if the backup doesn't work? If they're like, okay, well, I guess we just start over again with...
Yeah.
Because he's just a droid.
And they've only known him for 2 years?
And we got Dio now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a cute
like the
puppy.
only ones with emotional attachment left anymore to 3PO is maybe Chewbacca?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the old
Chewbacca's
guards are all
probably
gone.
rooting for him to get kind of rebooted, because then he was just like, oh, he's not going to remember. He's going to have to relearn all my moves to Jarek. So,
and R2's been through this before. He's had to retrain him in the past.
Right.
Yeah. Lando? Does Lando have any strong feelings about 3PO?
Probably not. Yeah. He's like, hey, wasn't that garbage that you were carrying around when last time you visited my house?
I've only ever loved one droid.
Yeah.
And
That's true. Lando probably does have an evolved opinion of droids, so we'll see. But that was pretty much all I had for the week. Ken, did you have anything else specific to these minutes, or anything you want us to look out for down the road? Anything?
I'm looking forward to the Emperor moments, the big grand, the big grand show. Can't wait to see. Anytime you get to see Ian McDiarmid just full tilt, ham it up, crank it up to 11. In a film that I found for myself flawed in a lot of ways. And those moments are flawed in their own ways. I can't help but love just him going full tilt. And I wish they had given him more ham for Ian.
More ham. Unlimited ham.
They couldn't use the volume with him because he's famous
also,
for chewing the seasoning.
I, without a doubt, would buy an unlimited ham Palpatine shirt.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say subscription from Goldbelly. They're going to send you unlimited ham.
No, you only get access if you stick past the 7-day free trial.
Right.
You get access to buy the unlimited ham Palpatine shirt.
Well, on that note, hey, we've been joking about the things. Go check out, see if we put anything up there. I know we just said it the day or two ago, but StarWarsMinute.com/merch. Hopefully, at least one of these ideas make it to the merch store. StarWarsMinute.com/merch. And hey, also StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. If you are going to miss out, Ken is going to take off. We're going to come back Monday with a different guest, I'm assuming. But in the meantime, if you're missing out on our voices, why not check out StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon, and we'll do a show on Saturday and on Sunday for you. And
I have a final T-shirt pitch.
Okay. What do you got?
This is my Frick pick.
That's it? This is my Frick pick?
My Frick pick?
Oh, okay.
All right. On that note, let's
This is why I won't be here next week. This is it.
Wrap this up.
Sealed.
Yeah, Ken's got to go. So let's. No, thanks again, Ken, for being with us all week, and everybody. Hopefully, you enjoyed us, and you'll be back next week for a brand new episode of Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
Oh, we got it.